Hi, we're in Chicago. This museum is called the Art Institute. I'm on Michigan Avenue. It's starting to, I don't know, rain or snow, but let's walk together. We're going to go into the Art Institute and I'll show you on a little walk through the museum. The Art Institute is a building that was built in the 1800s, late 1800s, actually for part of the World's Columbian Exposition that was held here after the Chicago fire. Thank you. Thank you. Whoosh. Thanks. I appreciate that. Ooh, it's cold out there. Hi. This is Brittany. Thanks, Brittany. You have a good one, too. The Great Stairway has a temporary exhibit on it right now that has been here before, but it's been not here since 2014. So we're going to walk up and head into the first gallery. It's fun, isn't it? So the building was intended to be temporary, but in fact is still here and has been added to. We just came up there. The Women's Board Grand Staircase. So the building was intended to be temporary for the Columbian Exposition, and it wasn't part of that because that was quite a ways south, about 4 miles south. But they kept it and developed a huge collection here from donations initially. We have some architecture sections, art of Europe before 1900, but we'll see some European art here too. Let's go into the Impressionist galleries, which are probably the most famous here. I won't have a lot to say, but I will say we have Monet, we have Renoir, Rodin, and the idea today is just a 20-minute walk to give you an idea of what's happening at the Art Institute. And you can tell if somebody is a Chicagoan sometimes because we will call this the Art Institute, and a lot of people will just call it the Art Museum. This particular Renoir is a favorite of mine because I grew up with a print of it in the house. I'm sure as a child I thought it was the real thing, but it's not. Mine wasn't. This is. So the collection of Impressionisms happens to be particularly large because of the times that it was collected by Americans particularly, and then donated as well. And Impressionism was growing in Europe because of industrialization, and people could travel, get around on the train to locations outside their cities, and paint en plein air, which was also created by the Impressionists, where the en plein air means outside, taking their easels and paints and painting in the place that they are. This particular Seurat is not quite Impressionism, and in fact is probably the most famous painting here at the Art Institute, Le Grand Jet by Seurat, and it's pointillism. I'm going to walk up there and show it to you close so that you can see what pointillism is. It's a group of people at the park, almost like, let's see, what would you call that today? Pixels. Yeah, you would call those pixels. And then when you step back, you see it all. And there's some amazing things going on here. The idea was to paint it based on the friezes in the temples like the Parthenon. Still, there's very little movement here. But this is the way people, when they suddenly had a train available to take them to the suburbs, might be able to spend their day out away from the city. And it was also in movies, and when they showed the Art Institute, that's often the piece that you'll see. There's a little sketch for it. And it has changed from the sketches. And we have a nice selection of Monets. Actually, I think we have maybe up to 6 of his haystacks. I'll walk past those too. So I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time stopping at each painting because this is supposed to be a walk. And as much as I love museums, there's a lot of stopping with your walking, and I want you to keep walking. Ferris Bueller's Day Off. That's the movie that the kids are shown skipping school, but they actually come over here and come to the Art Institute. We move into the second room. This is a Van Gogh. We have a nice selection of Van Goghs, and typically this particular Art Institute has a lot of exhibits going on, so the temporary exhibits change each season or year. Last year we had a Frida Kahlo exhibit that was New York's. Right now going on, and I'll probably do it after this video, there's a Frida Kahlo exhibit temporarily about her time in Paris with a friendship with another artist. So kind of one of the fun things about many of the Impressionist artists is we have information about where they were going and who they were hanging out with. Some of the artists I don't know. And I was a student of art. I've studied art and then interior design. So I'm familiar with some of these from my art history classes and then having this museum close to home. It's a Toulouse-Lautrec, and he's known, as perhaps you know, for painting working people and nightlife, which prior to the Impressionists would never have been painted normally because the people who could pay to have a portrait done would pay for that. Bohemian, the poet of Montmartre, and you see the windmill behind him. Montmartre was an area outside of Paris at the time. Now it's been engulfed by Paris, but it used to be a village next to Paris that had lots of windmills and lots of gypsum. I'm hoping that I'm stopping long enough for you to see these pieces and then make your way over to the Art Institute. The circus, he would do the circus, the ballet, on stage, backstage, one of the more famous ones. And most of the artists who did Impressionism were also taught classically in school and in tutoring that they would get from their art teachers. They've also done some great exhibits about Monet. So as I look around, I didn't even realize this in the past, but it's a Monet room. And I do happen to love Impressionism. And it might be how I use photography too, to get a feeling and impression of what we have. Branch of the Seine near Giverny, mist. You know, the plein air painters were working on painting what you actually saw when you were outside. So actually Monet spent some time in London. That's why we have Houses of Parliament in some of his paintings. He loved the fog. Not my favorite thing, but Monet loved the fog, but he was able to paint it. I couldn't do this in a million years. Waterloo Bridge with the sunlight effect. See the sunlight effect on the cars? And they're blotches of white paint, which is incredible. But they also just began having tubes of paint. So prior to these, here's some of the Haystack series. Prior to having tubes of paint available, the artists had to mix their own paint with the chemical powders that they used to make paint, often with egg white, I believe is what. So stacks of wheat. This is end of day autumn. See the warmth and the lighting? And the stacks of hay are so interesting because you can start to tell what time of year or what time of day he was out there. This one is just called Stack of Wheat, and these are from the countryside in France where the farmers would stack the wheat, and he was just interested in how the light hits the trees and the stacks. They could be architecture, but he chose these which were readily available and handy. Stacks of wheat. This one is end of summer too. This is sunset with a snow effect. And one of the things I love about all these is the colors that are in here are not what you would ever expect necessarily. There will be some green that helps it look brown. There's some green in that haystack. And there's a couple more haystacks this way. Stack of wheat. This is a thaw at sunset. Another snow effect on an overcast day. And see if you can get that sense whether the light is warm, red, yellow, or cold, like blue. I'm not good at pronouncing the town. Vesoul. Other Monets, the water lilies. These are from Giverny. This is Water Lily Pond, and up, I think it's northwest of Paris a little bit, you would find the town of Giverny, where Monet and his family lived, and he created the gardens that are often in his paintings now. And he's meticulously created the gardens. Here's the town again. And is it different from that one? Yep, look at how pink that one is, and how much more yellow this is, and the reflection on the water, and the green grass. Okay, so I actually don't want to spend all the time of this in with the Impressionists because I want to take you over to the American artists that are a little more contemporary. So please come and check it all out. How you doing? So I looked over what the Art Institute considers an essentials tour, and I'm going to skip a bunch of it because we only have 20 minutes. Also, they have design of furniture and crafts. I'm going to try and get us out of here. Oh, see, you hear the beep, it means somebody's standing too close. So anytime you're in the Art Institute, you're probably on camera 70 different times. Oh, God, the Chagall. But we're going to zip past. You can see all the Tahitian images that he did. Right about now, I'm over train tracks. So the train tracks had to just be built over. And so it's kind of two buildings connected. We've got a lot of ancient sculpture right now, and I'm going to spend some time with that after this today. And I think there's a lot of pieces from a particular collection. I forget the name of it, but they haven't been to the U.S. before. So I will look at those too. And if I do go back up to the area that I was, I just won't speak at all. Group of kids. We'll go out to the Chagall blue window. It's called America Windows. This is an example of what we have as public art outside. So outdoors is the really big one. and a regular one. They have recreated the entire room of the main floor right here in the modern section. Doesn't look very modern, but it is, because they've placed this in the contemporary wing. Very small. Here's my hand next to that. That's how small that is. I don't know what are the temporary pieces that are here. I think this is Cicero. Soft crease. I was wrong. Once again, it happens. The courtyard, typically in the summer, that has had tables, and it's a fountain in the middle, or at least a pond. Antinous as Osiris, Roman. Isis or Fortuna. I mean, to be able to find these pieces, 332 to 30 BC, mosaics that are in Naples, Italy, they're incredible. The color and the detail. This is a mosaic fragment with a camel, 5th century, so this is Byzantine. Also 5th century, they're not that old. From Syria. I understand they've been digging up some recently too, actually. Icon, post-Byzantine, in Crete, temper on a wood panel. So there are a lot of medieval pieces here too. That's another gallery. What are these from? 2nd century. Personification of a season. And they were large floor in a wealthy Roman home. Marine life. They're good, aren't they? If you're an artist and you do mosaics, please come see them. This is the hopper called Nighthawks. One of the more famous pieces here at the Art Institute that most people recognize. It's in the American wing. Pretty modern pieces here. And the other one that I'll add, American Gothic by Grant Wood, 1930. We've seen him. Saturday Night Live did a hilarious bit on it.